with my dad at Taco Bell. My cousin worked with us too, and together we basically ran the place. Our location got pretty busy during the day, and we got just as much traffic at night, if not more. At 10 p.m., we closed the inside and only did drive-thru orders. The drive-thru was very busy most nights, especially on the weekends. My cousin and I did the prep work and made the orders while my dad ran the register and took the orders. One night, I was cleaning up my station during some downtime when I heard my dad greeting a new customer. I got ready to make the order when it came up on the screen, but I couldn't help hearing the customer's voice through my dad's headset since my station was close to the window. My dad was a little hard of hearing, so he always had it turned up super high, but my hearing was sharp enough to just barely hear it when the kitchen was quiet enough.
Give me 4 tacos with extra sauce and 2 Cokes while you're at it.
There was something strange about that guy's voice. I couldn't tell what it was because I could barely hear it, but it just sounded off. It was unnaturally deep and disturbing. I tried to disregard it and started making the order of a few tacos. A few moments later, the customers pulled up. They were in a large black SUV with heavily tinted windows. I peeked around the corner as they rolled down the window and revealed their faces. 2 middle-aged men were in the car, and they both looked extremely strange. From their unsettling expressions to the way their faces were put together, it was all just really creepy. They looked oddly similar too, like they could have been brothers. I went back to making their food so they wouldn't catch me staring, but I kept listening to their conversation. At first, my dad treated them like any other customer, but hearing their voices in person was even creepier. Something about them just made my skin crawl. I did my best to keep it from causing me to make a mistake. Before long, I was almost done, but that's when things took a turn for the worst. Suddenly, I heard my dad yell at them that their $20 bill was fake.
It's fake! Your money is fake! Take the fake 20 and shove it up your ass! It's real, damn it! Just take the 20 and give me my damn tacos!
I looked around the corner and saw the worst case scenario. The deranged creep jumped out of his car and crawled halfway through the window holding a knife to my dad's face. My legs locked up. The driver was waving the knife around while my dad stood just far enough back not to be hurt. But I knew if the driver got any closer that things could go horribly wrong. The passenger was smiling at me through the window. He seemed amused that we were watching this catastrophe unfold together.
Just take the money! What's wrong with it? I told you it's fake! I can't take it! The money's as real as this knife, which is gonna go right through your eyes if you don't take it! Please stop! Dad, just take the money! You should listen to the kid, old man. He's got more brains than you! No! Leave us alone or I'm calling the cops! That Monopoly money might work at 7-Eleven, but not Taco Bell, bitch!
My dad seemed completely unafraid, but with every passing second, that psycho looked more and more ready to snap. He'd gone from a creep to a demon in a matter of seconds, so I knew time was of the essence. I quickly dialed 911 and talked to the police while the situation continued to devolve before my eyes. Then, without warning, the psycho jumped through the window and did the unthinkable.
No, Dad, no. Please, stay with me. Stay with me.
I tried to save my father, but the only thing I could do was say goodbye to him in his final moments. He was gone within seconds. In that time, his killers did nothing except laugh as they took the rest of what they came for and drove off. Even if I hadn't been terrified of them, I was too devastated by the loss of my father to do anything but cry, as did my cousin when he came out of the bathroom. He had thought the yelling was just an angry customer, but he had no idea how bad things actually were. By the time help finally arrived, the men in the car were long gone. And since then, the investigation yielded no results. Despite the killer's face being captured on the security footage, he still hasn't been identified. What's worse, they had their license plate covered, so there was no way to track them that way either. For obvious reasons, my cousin and I have been unable to work there ever since, or at any Taco Bell for that matter. My family continues to grieve my father's loss. He leaves behind me, my mother, and my 2 younger siblings, who all relied on him. He tried to make a stand for what he thought was right for his livelihood, but it ended up costing him everything. The story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding a Taco Bell worker who was taken out by a customer after the restaurant had refused to accept a counterfeit $20 bill from the customer, who then opened fire. The 41-year-old male victim, named locally as Alejandro Garcia, was working with his son at the fast food chain restaurant in South Los Angeles when he was taken out around 11 p.m. Alejandro's son, who also works at the Taco Bell, had gotten into an argument with two men who had tried to pay with a fake bill while ordering drive-thru food in a black sedan. The argument at the drive-thru window escalated and one of the customers began opening fire. The attackers then sped off and remained at large. Garcia's son had attempted to close the window to provide cover, but it was unfortunately too late. No arrests have since been made in the case. Garcia worked at the restaurant part-time in order to provide extra money for his family. A statement from Taco Bell said, "We are shocked and saddened to hear that this happened. Our deepest condolences go out to the family and friends of Garcia in this difficult time." I used to work at this Taco Bell, which has to be a contender for the most disgusting fast food restaurant in the country. Half the food we serve people is on the verge of rotting. The bathrooms are absolutely atrocious because barely anyone ever cleans them, and 90% of our customers come down with explosive diarrhea. There are even rats in the kitchen crawling around in broad daylight. That's not even mentioning the people who work there. The majority of the employees didn't seem to care about doing their job properly. Everything is filthy, and our food is sloppy and prepared incorrectly more often than not. And most of my coworkers would rather hide in the back than work. The Taco Bell should have been shut down for health code violations 20 inspections ago. And the people who live in this town have no good reason to keep coming here when there's a perfectly okay McDonald's just down the road. The only explanation I can think of that anyone still comes here is that they've been banned from every other fast food joint for being insufferable dirtbags. After everything I've said about this place, it may seem like nobody should be forced to eat here, but these people deserve it. Never in my life have I experienced people act so rude and inconsiderate to each other. There was this one guy who definitely takes the cake in that regard. I don't want to say his name, but I'll just call him George. George is one of our regulars. He comes in at least 3 times a week, and every time I see him, I know there's going to be trouble. He's extremely argumentative and demanding, sometimes to the point of physical violence, but for some reason, the manager refuses to ban him, probably because we need his money. George's usual complaints are that the employees are disrespecting him and making his food wrong, and that the whole place is a dump. To be honest, I can see where he's coming from. I agree that most of the food is garbage and so is the customer service. He's totally right that our restaurant is literally a threat to human health, but there's no point in saying that to him. It seems he'll never stop coming here despite it, and the employees are never going to change their ways. Some of my favorite George moments include the time he claimed there was too much sauce on his burrito, only for him to pull out a tortilla that was literally half filled with mayonnaise, and the time he claimed we had given him rat meat on his taco as he pulled an entire ball of tangled up rat hair out of the shell. Nobody likes George, but there's one guy who works here who has serious beef with him. I'll just call him Alex. Alex likes to intentionally instigate fights with George. Whoever is dealing with the brunt of George's anger, which is often me, can count on being saved by Alex stepping in and making things a million times worse. If Alex knows the order is for George, he will intentionally screw it up just to make George pissed. It was entertaining at first, and my coworkers still get a kick out of it, but I'm starting to get scared of their interactions now. I've been worried for a while that one day, one of their fights will escalate into one of them killing each other. Even worse, maybe George will come in and kill us all. And last week, my worst fear was realized. George came in while I was working the register and Alex was in the kitchen making orders. I tried to be nice to George, but with Alex behind the counter, it was useless. As soon as I felt how light the bag was, I knew it was going to be wrong. Sure enough, George checked his order at the register and threw a fit.
Is this some kind of joke? I asked for 3 burritos, not 3 tacos full of rotten lettuce. You idiots keep serving me dog food.
Ugh! Don't throw food in my face!
I'm sure you're used to getting meat in your face. Now remake my food and give me a refund.
Excuse me, is there a problem here?
Yeah, this bitch won't give me a refund.
My apologies, sir. You ordered 3 burritos, right? We'll give you 4 on the house and we'll give you a refund. I was completely taken aback by the way Alex handled the situation. Normally I would have to walk away or get caught in the crossfire of a violent pissing contest, but that day was quite the opposite. Alex managed to defuse the whole thing in seconds. I was relieved, but also very confused. After I gave George his refund, I stepped into the kitchen to ask Alex what had just happened. I couldn't get the answer I wanted out of Alex, but by the time George's food came out, everything seemed alright. George was pleased with the burritos and decided to eat inside. He must have been hungry because he devoured all 4 pretty quickly. Then, he sat at the table on his phone for a while, digesting.
Then, he suddenly fell out of his chair and started vomiting everywhere. It just kept coming out, more and more until he was covered in it. And then he started seizing. He was convulsing in a pool of his own puke while he continued to purge everything in his stomach.
When he finally stopped vomiting, he appeared to be frozen in a convulsion until the ambulance came to take him away. It was later reported that he had a nearly lethal amount of rat poison in his system from the burritos he ate. Naturally, the restaurant was shut down, and now I'm out of a job as Taco Bell scrambles to cover this whole thing up. I know what happened though, and I know who did it. I have no interest in snitching. George deserved it. The story was inspired by a disturbing incident regarding a Colorado man who claimed Taco Bell workers poisoned his food. Allegedly, there was a report of a disturbance in the drive-thru of a Taco Bell in Aurora, Colorado around 1 p.m. Sunday. A male customer allegedly got into an argument with a Taco Bell employee because the restaurant's soda machine wasn't working. Restaurant manager said the man is a regular customer with a history of causing problems, including allegedly throwing a taco at an employee in the past. The manager also said he wanted something free and was given a 4th burrito at no cost with his order of 3 bean burritos after complaining. Police say the unidentified man ate the food later Sunday night around 7 p.m. and soon became violently ill. He called 911 and was taken to a hospital. The hospital confirmed there was indeed rat poison in the burrito. The case is categorized as criminal attempt homicide. The restaurant was closed for investigation Sunday night, and surveillance video was turned over to the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. There have been reports that the restaurant has since reopened after inspection and are still cooperating with the investigation.
It all happened not too long ago. I lived in a boarding house with my 2 other roommates, Mark and Dale. Mark and I were in our 50s, and Dale was pushing 75. It wasn't a great situation, but it was all any of us could afford. None of us were in a very good financial position. The house we lived in was kind of a dump. It was small and falling apart in some places, but we didn't have any money to try and fix the place up. I just tried to get through the day with the little money I had. Usually, we would eat fast food for most meals since it was affordable. Most of the time it was from Taco Bell, as that was the local fast food joint nearby. When we first moved in together, the situation was a little better. We were all pretty good friends, and we were able to get along well. It was a good thing, because we had to share a small space between the 3 of us, and we all had to cram what little food we bought into the same tiny kitchen and fridge. We would never eat each other's food though. We all made sure to keep our stuff separated in the kitchen as much as possible. Then one day, things started to go downhill. Dale and I were sitting in the living room when Mark suddenly came barging in and started yelling at us about his missing Taco Bell he had left in the fridge.
Which one of you shitheads stole my food?
Dale and I both denied taking the food, but that did nothing to make Mark less angry. He threatened both of us and said that if we ever stole his shit again, he would kill us. I had never seen him so mad before. I knew that it had to have been Dale who stole the food, cause I knew that I hadn't eaten it. I always made sure to eat all of my Taco Bell at once to avoid mistakes like that happening, but I decided not to snitch after seeing how angry Mark was. I figured that everyone would forget about it and things could go on like they did before, but everything went sour after that day. The 3 of us continued to live together, but we weren't as good friends as we were before. Things became awkward and tense. Then one night, I sat in the living room, eating Taco Bell and watching TV. The 3 of us used to do it together most nights, but now, the other 2 usually stayed in their rooms. I typically ended up just hanging out by myself. Eventually, I went to my room to go to sleep. Then I was suddenly awoken by loud noises and screaming. I was startled and quickly got up to see what was wrong. It was pitch black in the house. As I walked out of my room, I realized that it was Mark yelling from the kitchen. so I fumbled my way through the living room to see what was going on. When I got into the kitchen, I saw Mark strangling Dale while he accused him of stealing his Taco Bell once again.
I'll kill you, you lying thief! I know you took it!
I quickly pulled Mark off of Dale and broke up the fight. They still kept screaming at each other even after I pulled them apart.
What's the matter with you two? That psycho was trying to kill me. You saw him? I told you that I would kill you if you touched my meat again. I didn't take your goddamn Taco Bell.
Finally, they stopped yelling. Mark went outside for a smoke, while Dale headed into the living room. I was scared to go back to bed, as I didn't know if Mark would attack Dale again as soon as I left. I couldn't believe how upset he was getting over Taco Bell. I decided to go outside and try to calm Mark down. He still wasn't in a good headspace when I got out there though. He immediately started cussing me out.
I know that old piece of shit keeps stealing my food. He does it in the middle of the night. I caught him in there red-handed.
I kept trying to talk him down, but it wouldn't work. He just kept getting more and more angry.
He's not gonna get away with this. I won't let him. That old piece of shit. Mark, are you even listening to me?
Then he suddenly stopped pacing and looked at me. Then, out of nowhere, he stormed back inside and slammed the sliding glass door behind him, locking me outside.
Mark, what the hell are you doing?
I watched through the door in horror as Mark went into the kitchen and grabbed the knife. Then he held it up and looked back at me with a psychotic smile. I banged on the door and kept begging him to stop, but he wouldn't listen to me. I watched as he walked into the living room where Dale was. I couldn't see what was going on, but I knew what was about to happen. I was forced to stand there and listen, helpless, while I heard the most guttural screams and sounds coming from inside. I called the cops shortly after, but they couldn't get there in time. By the time they arrived and got the door open, Dale was found dead at the scene. Mark was standing over him, holding the knife. He was arrested immediately. I've been traumatized by Taco Bell ever since that night. I still can't imagine how Mark could have gone so insane over food. Who knows what he would have done to me next if the cops hadn't taken him away. This story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding a Michigan man who was accused of taking out his roommate earlier this year. After a verbal argument over a Taco Bell meal allegedly turned physical, Mark Newsom, 54, was charged in the fatal act of taking out his roommate. The victim was identified as 72-year-old Dale Mitchell. It was reported that the alleged argument began over a Taco Bell food order. He is being held without bond at the Macomb County Jail. A third roommate named Larry Melton commented on the aftermath saying, "Oh God, it scared the hell out of me at the time. It really did. There was blood all over the upstairs. To think a fight over food would escalate into murder. It's inconceivable. I trusted Mark as my friend. I could never believe he would have done something like that. It would have been a lot easier to just walk away."